Welcome to 10 Minutes About by Global Risk Management. Today I have Arne in the studio with me, and today we're going to be talking about something very interesting, the US election. It's right around the corner. Arne, how is that affecting the energy markets?
That's a very good questions, and unfortunately we only have 10 minutes to discuss that, but there's a lot of things where it can impact the energy markets. There's a lot of moving parts out there. There's of course something about, is it going to impact US production? Is it going to impact US consumption? Is it going to impact the green transition, and therefore also consumption of fossil fuels? How's it going to impact global trade?
The financial markets.
Yeah, and financial markets in general. How's it going to impact interest rates? If interest rates are going up and down, it have an impact on investment in the energy sector. So there's a lot of moving parts here.
What do you see?
I think if we start with the oil market, of course, very important whether Trump or Harris, how will they look at further drilling? Trump saying drill, baby, drill. So it's quite clear he wants to drill more. It's not that easy. He cannot just order U.S. companies to drill after more oil. Harris is a bit more tricky. She used to say, if we go back 4-8 years ago, she was very critical to what we call fracking, the whole shale oil revolution. She's really trying to backtrack on that, saying that I've changed my mind. I will also allow drilling. We have no intention of stopping the sort of U.S. oil adventure. So I think in reality, maybe the impact on U.S. oil production isn't that big. I think it's going to continue slowly growing higher, and it's actually probably more important, what does the OPEC do? What happens to interest rates? Maybe a Trump victory will actually mean higher interest rates because he will put more money into the economy, put in tariffs, and so that will put up inflation. High inflation will make it more costly to invest in new oil development, so that can work and mitigate that. Gas market is of course another important area to look at. I think from a more European perspective, very interesting to see if Kamala Harris will continue the ban that Biden had put in place on new LNG investments. That's really key for sort of LNG prices, gas prices in 2-3 years time. Will she lift that ban if she is elected? I'm pretty sure that Trump will lift that ban, mainly because it was introduced by Biden, but also because he sees himself as a friend of the energy sector. But nothing is certain here, because maybe Trump will say, it's actually quite nice that we don't produce too much LNG in the US, because what situation do we have today? We have very cheap natural gas in the US, relatively expensive gas outside the US, both in Europe and Asia. And Trump might say, why should I export that gas through LNG to the rest of the world? Let's keep it in the US. Let's force European, Asian factories that need cheap gas to move to the US, so we have the jobs here. So a lot of moving parts here.
And what about the sanctions that we have in place?
Sanction is of course another quite interesting thing, especially for the oil market. Take a country like Iran. Trump was very, very tough on Iran when he was president. There's little doubt that Biden with Harris as his vice president had eased the tension on Iran. We have seen Iran stepping up oil production the last couple of years, especially after the war started in Ukraine. If Trump is elected, I wouldn't be surprised that he is trying to be tough on Iran, again, trying to really depress Iranian export capabilities. But it will be difficult because they have the same system in place as Russia, dark fleet, and so on. So Iran is an interesting thing. Then there's Russia. There are sanctions on Russia. They work, for example, on the ability to expand the LNG export capabilities. Trump might ease the sanctions on Russia. I'm pretty sure Harris will continue the sanctions together with the EU. on Russia, or maybe even tighten them. Could be a bit of impact there, but for the oil market, important that Russia is already constrained by their membership of the OPEC Plus, and we have Venezuela left. Trump was also pretty tough on Venezuela. They might return, come back to that policy. Biden have eased sanctions on Venezuela, given so-called waivers, so it's possible for U.S. companies to export oil from Venezuela. Maybe Trump will change these so-called waivers, but on the other hand, these waivers, they are actually benefiting U.S. oil producers like Chevron, so that could also indicate that maybe it will not be that tough on. But I think Iran is really the key to watch in respect of the sanctions, in respect of the election.
Yeah, and then what about the gas prices? We know that you is a huge LNG exporter. Would the election also result in an impact on the market here?
Yeah, but I think that is where this so-called ban on new investments are important. So that's a key issue for the LNG market. But it's more down the road. It's nothing that's going to impact the price tomorrow, or probably also not next year or the year after. We're talking about 27, 28. But if Trump is able to step up U.S. drilling, a lot of that will be related to shale oil, fracking, and so on. And along with that comes gas. So the situation where you have cheap gas in the U.S., more expensive gas outside the U.S., that will continue. It could be more intensified if Trump is elected, or probably more or less stay the same if Harris is elected.
And then about whether the entire green transition, everybody is speaking so much about it. Will we also see like the U.S. emission system, like the EU ETS scheme here we have in Europe?
I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's pretty obvious. If Trump is elected, they will not go down that road. But there's a lot of things going on in, for example, for EUAs, EU ETS, in shipping, for example, the IMO. So there's discussion, could we create a global system there? But I think a general emission trading scheme for the US, as we know it in Europe, that covers power production, industrials, airlines, and so on. I don't think we'll see a federal system of that in the US if Trump is elected. Could we see it if Kamala Harris is elected? She would definitely be more open for a system like that, but I think it would be more down to the local states. We already see a system in California, for example. An important thing also about this green transition is, of course, the so-called Inflation Reduction Act, which is a huge investment program put in place by the Biden administration. And it's a bit different from what we do in Europe. It's basically trying to push as many money as possible into green investments. I think Trump has been very critical to the Inflation Reduction Act, saying it's a waste of money, we don't need this transition, and all that. And you could say in theory that speaks in favor of that he will scrap the Inflation Reduction Act. It is not that easy because it has to go through Congress and so on, and he might not control the Congress. And then secondly, I guess even the important is that there's actually a lot of people now working also in the green economy in the US, and it could actually be his own voters that that will suffer if he actually cut significantly back on green investment, especially actually in some of the areas where we have the so-called swing states. Yeah. So I think it will stay in place, but it will probably not be expanded. There's no doubt that Kamala Harris will move more in that direction, probably a bit more in a European way, where without also more regulation.
It's going to be interesting to follow. And
it will be very interesting.
Yeah, and we will for sure here in JRL be following it very closely. Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you for inviting me.